Okay, we are live. This has been an interesting Healing Element podcast. So hopefully everyone received the notification that we had some technical difficulties on my end. My computer, I guess, was just kind of overwhelmed with all the greatness that we're going to be talking about tonight and could not handle it. All this high energy. So I wanted to welcome you all again to the Healing Element podcast. I'm your host, Kai Marie. If you are new to the Healing Element podcast, you can join me right here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can learn how you can begin to break cycles of trauma and create cycles of healing in your own life and also in your family. So tonight we're going to be talking about Ayurveda. I have my very special guest with me tonight, Tesia Love. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner here in the Charlotte area. And she's going to be talking to us about the science of Ayurveda. So if you are ready to really learn how you can begin to bring harmony and balance within your mind, body, and soul, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned and listen to this episode. I wanted to show some images of the massage, my first Ayurvedic massage that I was able to have. It was a wonderful experience, but I don't want everything to shut down again. So because of that, I will post the videos of my massage that I received some footage that we were able to get. I will post that on the YouTube channel. So please make sure you take a look. I already have one that's up. So please do take a look at the others that will be posted after this video. So with that being said, I would like to welcome my guest and thank her for her patience. She's been so patient and so kind. But I've been back here figuring out what is going on. So with that being said, Tesia, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners this evening so they can know a little bit about you and your background?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thank you, Kai, for having me on this podcast and streaming live. So yes, my name is Tesia Love, and I am a clinical Ayurvedic practitioner. First, let me just say a word for those who don't know. What is Ayurveda? Ayurveda is India's traditional healing system. It's originated out of India. It's a sister science of yoga. However, it is for anyone, anytime, anywhere, because it's based on universal principles. But it is a complete healing system, just like similar to Chinese medicine. It's one of the world's oldest complete medical systems. It is the oldest that's been continuously practiced and documented. So oftentimes it's referred to as the mother of all healing. And basically, Ayurveda is all about living in harmony with nature, your own unique nature, meaning your unique mind body type, and the nature around you, meaning the seasons, the time of day, the time of life. And so I have been drawn to Ayurveda for 20 years now, and began to formally study it in 2011. And I've been practicing in some capacity clinically for the past 8 years. And in my full-time practice in Charlotte, North Carolina, it's now morphed into a full-time practice. And I've been practicing in Charlotte for 5. And so my background is that with Ayurveda is working with all different modalities, from nutrition to herbs, to body therapies, yoga therapy, meditation, breath work, all the different sensory therapies, aromatherapy even. And so I work with people to help them with this modality to obtain optimal health and well-being. I do consultations, and I specialize in the Ayurvedic body therapies as a licensed massage and bodywork therapist.
Awesome. And so again, for those, I see some people are just kind of joining us. So we're starting over again. So this is the intro right now. So we didn't dive too much in yet, but we're going to kind of keep the conversation going due to time. So again, apologies for kind of the delay in starting. So with that being said, if people are, and you've kind of said this in your intro, but people that are like, kind of what is Ayurveda? There are those two kind of, could I say, like guiding principles in that type of science, and what are those, and how do those principles connect to dosha, which we can go into that too.
Mm-hmm. So let me say a few things to help people understand what Ayurveda is. So, one, like I said, it's a complete system. It's an approach for holistic health, well-being, and healing, mind, body, and spirit. So, it's a framework. It's a way of looking at your health. And like I mentioned, Ayurveda is about living in harmony with nature. And when we're in living in harmony with nature, going to sleep at proper times, waking up at proper times, eating according to the seasons, eating according to our mind body type. When we do that, that's where our body is able to be in an optimal state of health. And so, the way that Ayurveda views nature is through this concept of the five elements and the three doshas. That's the way to understand all of nature: food, our anatomy and physiology, the seasons, all of those things. And so the five elements in Ayurveda are ether, which is empty space, air, fire, water, and earth. And when we speak of these elements, we're talking about the qualities that they represent. So, for example, ether is empty space, so it's clear, it's light, it's subtle. Air is the wind, so it moves. It's also cold and drying. Fire is, of course, hot and it transforms. Water is moist and fluid. And earth is heavy and stable. And so those are considered the building blocks of life. And those five elements then form what are called the three doshas. And doshas, you can think of them as energetic forces or principles that's at work and is orchestrating, or how nature is orchestrating itself and operating. And so it's vata, pitta, and kapha dosha. And vata is ether and air. So vata has the qualities of movement, coldness, dryness, lightness. So in the body, anything that's dealing with movement, vata is responsible for that. Circulation, elimination, the movement of thoughts. So, for example, when someone has a overactive mind that's causing them to stay up at night, that's an excess of vata dosha. And then we have pitta dosha, which is mainly fire, but it's also a little bit of water. And pitta, because of that fire, is responsible for metabolism and transformation in nature and in the body. So, for example, again, with digestion, our digestive fire and all of the workings of digestion, pitta plays a big role. The digestion of thoughts as well. So, our intellect, our discernment is related with pitta. A pitta type of imbalance would be something like burning indigestion, or being hot-headed, prone to anger. That's a sign of pitta in the constitution, but also a pitta excess. And then we have kapha dosha, which is water and earth. So if you were to mix water and dirt together, you get a big pile of mud. And if you think about holding some mud in your hands, and what would those qualities be? It would be sticky, it would be dense, it would be a bit heavy. And so that's the quality of kapha dosha. And so in the body, it's responsible for cohesion and for growth, for the mucus or sinus that's in the body. And so an example of excess kapha would be excess weight, for example, that excess heavy quality. It might be sinus congestion. That's an example of kapha. And so, so I gave an example of what the qualities are, and also when they're in excess, when it's too much of those qualities, that's how it can show up as an imbalance. But one of the things that you'll hear folks talk about when it comes to Ayurveda is what's your dosha. And when they say that, they're talking about what's your prakriti, what's your constitution, your unique mind-body type. Your constitution is set at conception, and it doesn't change. It's based on what your parents' constitution is. It's based on what their imbalances were at the time of conception. And so that's what you have, and it doesn't change. That's what I mean by your unique mind-body type. Okay. We all have all three doshas within us, but one or two are most likely to be dominant. And so we have that. And then we have what's called your vikriti, and that's the current state of the doshas, or the imbalance, what's in excess. Okay. And so you want to know both of those. You want to know your constitution so that you can know what your tendencies are. So, for example, if someone has a lot of pitta, remember that's the one with fire, they might have a tendency to have burning indigestion, to be prone to anger, or prone to being overly critical. And so if you know that about yourself, then you can make adjustments, because the way we bring about balance in Ayurveda is with the opposite. So if someone has too much heat in their body and their mind, then they want to bring in more qualities of coolness. If someone has too much dryness, like say a lot of dry constipation, or cold emotions like fear, worry, they
Mm-hmm.
want to bring in more warmth, more moisture, more grounded quality. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
opposite of vata. And so that's kind of, in a nutshell, the principles of how Ayurveda is, the fundamental principle of Ayurveda, living in harmony with nature. And
Mm-hmm.
then how Ayurveda does that is with this view of looking at our qualities. And the language that's used to express that are the five elements and the three doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha dosha.
Wow, you broke that down so much, so well that I think we can really begin to start the process of understanding. So, if anyone, I just want to say, if anyone has any questions in the comments, just please drop them so that way we can make sure that they get answered. So, with that being said, so if someone was going to you, that's something that you could kind of help them to begin to understand kind of where they fall.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on? I've seen, and people that are listening, let me know if you ever seen like online, like check out, like take this exam and you can, or take this test that you can figure out your dosha. So, what are your thoughts on those type of, generally speaking? I know there's so
Mhm.
many out there, but generally speaking, what are your thoughts about people kind of going online to kind of find this out?
Mhm.
Um, what are
Yeah,
your thoughts on
because
that? Yeah, the
right.
quizzes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are a number of different quizzes that'll help you find what your constitution is. And those can be, it depends. Some of them are better than others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it can give you insights. It really doesn't replace a full consultation, because those can easily be misinterpreted. Because again, oftentimes what people will get confused is your constitution versus the Vikriti, the current state of the
Mm-hmm.
dosha, or the imbalance. So oftentimes folks can get that confused. But regardless, playing around with some of those quizzes, it can give you insight for sure. Just know that it truly doesn't replace a full consultation, because what a practitioner like myself does is it's able to tease out the nuances of how what your constitution is and what's showing up now. And then the
Mm-hmm.
big piece, because depending on the quiz, there are some good ones out there. Um, you can get some insight in your constitution, but even more than knowing your constitution and your imbalance, what I do as a practitioner is help people then develop a customized plan for how to actually bring about balance. And so using the training and insight that I have for giving recommendations on food, on
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle being things like your morning routines, your nighttime routines, and then using all of these other modalities like body therapies, yoga therapy. So creating a plan to help someone, and even herbal formulas, herbal recommendations, a plan to how to bring about balance, and then
Mm-hmm.
also the guidance through that process, because there's a lot within. That's where the coaching aspect comes in, because there's a lot in helping someone to implement the changes, to make
Mm-hmm.
changes, to figure out obstacles and strategies to overcome obstacles that get in the way to implementing healthy lifestyle changes. And so that's also a big part of what I do when I work with someone one on one.
Yeah, and I think that's so just have be able to sit down with you and kind of go over all this, especially someone that's kind of very much so new,
Mhm.
kind of taking a quiz and not again, we're not knocking. It's just there's so much more value you can get when someone schedules a consultation with you because not only do you begin to understand kind of where you fall, but also it's like, okay, so this is your plan moving forward. You're not kind of left out there like, okay, I just took this quiz and now what am I supposed to do? You've received that guidance and that coaching through the entire process, which is so crucial when you're looking to make a lifestyle change.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so, due to time, I feel like it's a little rushed.
It's okay. We can I have some more time. We
It's
don't.
like okay,
Yeah.
but I wanted to get into what I was my first Ayurvedic massage,
Mhm.
and I wanted to show you guys the video. But like I said, if you're just now joining, I see some people are just joining. I will be posting some footage of the massage that I received. But we just don't want to do that right now because this whole system may crash again. So we don't want to do that. So can you talk to us a little bit about the Ayurvedic massage, kind of like
Right.
just the thoughts around that, and also how it differs from like the traditional massage you would receive. When I say traditional, I mean if you go get like the Swedish massage or deep tissue massage, like how does that differ from Ayurveda?
hmm so, like I mentioned, Ayurveda pulls on a number of different modalities within its system. And so, body therapies are one of them. Massage is one, but massage is just one part of all the different body therapies that are
Mm-hmm.
used. Um, and so, with the body therapies, you're using the sense of touch. That's one of the things, also smell. And also, what's important about the Ayurvedic body treatments is that it uses oils and herbalized oils, and that's a way of administering the effects of the oils and the herbs to the body. So what you experienced, Kai, with me was what is a treatment called Abhyanga, which is a warm oil massage. It was a full body warm oil massage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely a powerful treatment within Ayurveda. People can do self massage at home, which is one of the daily practices that's often recommended and can be really good for calming the mind, calming the nervous system, nourishing the tissues.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that form, but then there's what's done in clinic and a full body abhyanga. Sometimes it's done just a one off massage, the way you had, Kai, and
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes it's done within the context of a multi day detoxification or rejuvenation program. But
Okay.
what it makes this in clinic treatment different is that it's using lots of oil, so a lot of warm oil, oftentimes herbalized oil, and each different oils have different properties to them, and so it can affect the body, the doshas in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a very, it's like energy work as well. So it's hands-on work, but it's the focus of the Ayurvedic work is working on balancing prana, which is life force energy in the body. It's also working on helping to expel excess doshas. And so while the muscles do receive some benefit, the muscles aren't the focus of the work the way it often is in Swedish or deep tissue type of massage. And
Okay.
so the treatment is very grounding, very
Mm-hmm.
relaxing. And again, when people have it, it's you have the hands-on work, but it's also an energetic work that's experienced.
It is. And I do want to share my experience before I do that. Baseman Awakens.
Mhm.
How are the oils created and what are they made from?
Yeah, great question. So, all different types of oils are used in Ayurveda. Ayurveda, you wouldn't put anything on your skin that you couldn't eat. So, they're all what you want to use 100% pure organic oils. Different ones are used. The king of oils that's often used in Ayurveda is sesame oil.
Mm-hmm.
It's tridoshic, but it's particularly good for Vata dosha because it's energetically warm and heavier. Coconut oil is often used, which is great for pitta because it's a more cooling oil. Sunflower is used. Sometimes it's one of those, sometimes it's a mixture, but oftentimes, typically, it's sesame, sunflower, or coconut oil for full body, but various oils are used for different purposes within Ayurvedic treatments. Almond oil, castor oil, mustard seed oil, it varies. But ghee, which is clarified butter,
Mm-hmm.
is used in a lot of treatments and is used medicinally within Ayurveda. But typically, sesame oil and or coconut oil and sunflower oil. And then when it's herbalized, the traditional way that Ayurvedic oils are made is where or the herbs are cooked into the oil. And so it's
Oh,
a long
wow.
process, but that's how the constituents of the herbs are extracted and infused into the oil. So yeah, to put it simply, that's what how the oils are. But it's an important part because, like I said, different oils impact different doshas, and so that's
Mm-hmm.
where the customization of the treatment comes in. As for what oils are used, how much of it is used, which herbalized herbs are used within the oils, so all of that.
And I have to tell you, like I said, I wanted to share with those that are watching because I really recommend. I've received like the Swedish massage before. I don't do the deep tissue. I can't handle that. So this was my first time last Friday getting an Ayurvedic massage. And when I went in, just so you guys know, kind of like the mental state, mind body state. I just started a new workout routine. I was extremely my muscles were so sore. You ever like did a workout and then you're kind of walking stiff because your your muscles feel so tight? So that's how I felt. And so while Tisha was doing the body work, I mean, I just began. I feel like I was like melting into like into the what is the
Table.
like the massage table.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so relaxing. My muscles were just starting to really ease up and relax. And I will say that it was different because when I've gone to like had a Swedish massage, it's a little bit more kind of like the pressure I feel is much heavier, but this felt so comforting. That's what it felt, so comforting. It felt so warm with the warm oils. And then when you were kind of doing, which the one video I'm going to show is where on my feet, when you're like rubbing my feet, you can feel
Mm-hmm.
like that energy kind of
Mm-hmm.
moving up. So I guess we could talk more about the massage that I received. And like I said, the videos that I'm going to post is when you were kind of working the neck area. And then you put the towel over my face. Oh my gosh, that felt the face massage and the scalp. That scalp massage, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna stay here for the rest of the day with the oil. It was so soothing. And it's almost like this is what your body should have.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even like, oh, I needed this. It was like I should have this, like and consistently.
That's a great
Um,
way to put that.
yeah, it was like my body's like, yep, this is how what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly recommend, and you can really quick, you can find all of Tisha's information in the body of this video. You can find our website, and you can book an appointment, have a consultation. I really recommend you doing that because your body will definitely thank you. So I know I said a lot, but could you talk a little bit more about kind of the process and method of, and I don't want to mispronounce the type of massage that I received.
Abhyanga.
Yes. So that, like I said, I felt relaxed, but I also felt that energy when you were doing certain type of
Mm-hmm.
movements.
Right. So what you felt so and the thing to know too is that the Ayurvedic body therapies, there's common principles and ways of doing them across the board. But say if you go to multiple places, it'll be a bit different each place. However, there are some common things that are the same because again, the strokes is one is the application of all of the oil. The
Mm-hmm.
other is the strokes, and much of the time, the strokes have specific purposes for again affecting energy or prana in the body. And so the friction strokes that you were talking about. So imagine if I'm doing this, but I'm doing it on a body part. But
Mm-hmm.
if you've ever done any energy work, or a lot of people are familiar with this practice of where you rub your hands
Mm-hmm.
and then you see, can you feel the energy in between your hands? Um,
Mm-hmm.
that friction, one of the things that the friction is doing is actually helping to rub the oil within the body so that you
Mm-hmm.
absorb it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also to start to stimulate that energy so that it can then be worked with
Mm-hmm.
and manipulate it. And so that's one of the things that that's doing. Another key aspect of the body work is that, again, so the chakras that many people are familiar with, the chakra system, that also, again, is working with prana and this prana that's flowing through that system. And so you also have what are called marma points on the body. The chakras are also like big marma points, but marma points, you can think of them as they're similar to acupressure points or acupuncture points,
Mm-hmm.
but they're called marmas in Ayurveda. And so certain places on the body are worked on because they're also affecting those marma points. And so again, those marmas are portals, if you will, for accessing um, energy in the body. And so those are some of the key things. So when I give that particular treatment in and of itself, it's everywhere is worked on. Abdominal
Mm-hmm.
work is a part of it. And it is, like you said, very grounding and soothing. The way I do it for sure is one where it's grounding and soothing. But some other treatments that are really significant. So there's one called Shirodara in Ayurveda, which is where, if anyone's familiar with Ayurveda, you've probably seen an image of someone laying on a table, and then a pot of oil is above their head, and a stream of oil comes down on the forehead, which is the sixth chakra, the third eye, and it's streaming down the hair. And so that treatment is very, very grounding. Again, working on the energetic body. It's excellent for anxiety, for insomnia, overall stress. And so that's a very common one. And oftentimes the two are done together, and you'll have Abhyanga followed by Shirodara. And so those are, like I mentioned, are just some of the treatments. There's other ones that are working on different aspects of the body. There's another one that's called Udvartana, where it's similar to the Abhyanga as I described, but an herbal powder is used to rub more vigorously into the body, and strokes are moving upwards. And so that's helping to balance more so Kapha dosha. Again, that quality of heaviness and stagnation. So people who are maybe naturally heavy set or big boned, or someone who's working with excess weight, often that's a good one for them, and they love it. But most of the time, I don't think I've ever had anybody who didn't love that one, who needed it, who had excess Kapha dosha. So, so again, the body treatments, that's just one aspect, but it's a very powerful aspect of therapeutics within Ayurveda. Again, the reason why it's powerful, so in Ayurveda, part of the framework too is that we take in the world through the five senses, right? And so one of the ways that disease happens, or that we get out of balance, is from a misuse of the senses. So for example, emotional eating, like that's a misuse of the sense of taste. And so we can get out of balance from a misuse of the senses, but we can bring about balance and bring about healing through the senses. And so many of the therapies in Ayurveda, they're sensory therapies. Food and herbs, that's working with the sense of taste. Of the body treatments, that's working with the sense of touch. Things like color therapy, is working on the sense of sight. Smells, aromatherapy is working with smell. Sound therapy, or things like chanting, mantras, music therapy, crystal bowl healing, for example. And then, did I leave one out? Sight, taste, sound, smell, hearing. Yeah, that's everything. Oh yeah, so the body therapies, like I mentioned, are working with touch and with movement. So that's one of the reasons why it's so powerful. Really, all of them are powerful. All of the different ways of working with the senses.
So true, and I love what you said, that what you were just talking about, the science of this is really mind, body, spirit, if you will, or mind, body, soul. And because what we're saying is it's not just about what you're eating.
Right.
It's like, stay away from this type of food. It's like, okay, this is why you should consume this type of food. And this is why you should consume during this season. And this is the type of body treatment you should receive. I mean, it's really a beautiful way to really take care of that whole mind, body, spirit. We're talking about energy and how energy moves through the body, and not knocking Western medicine,
right?
But I just love how with the Ayurvedic system, that it really goes to look at touching all points of the body, or all points of the person. It really is like that holistic care that you're working with someone. I think it's beautiful. And hopefully that those that are listening, if you have heard of Ayurveda before, or if you have not, please, read more on it. And if you're in the Charlotte area, you know where to go. Because it really is a beautiful system. And I look forward to learning more. And of course, not just getting more of the body treatment, but just learning more about the science, because I think that it does really create a pathway to wellness.
Absolutely. And yes, the spirit aspect, so again, with Ayurveda, is positioned and presented in different ways. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
because we're trying to make it accessible to people, and the
Mm-hmm.
language like Vata, Pitta, Kapha, some that's foreign to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's very simplified, but and with that being said, sometimes the spiritual aspect is kind of glossed over, but
Mm-hmm.
the ultimate cause of disease, according to Ayurveda and other systems, so I believe it to be true, is that we've forgotten our true nature as spirit,
Mm-hmm.
or we feel disconnected from God, is another way of saying it. And so
Mm-hmm.
that then leads us to look outside of ourselves for satisfaction, validation, fulfillment, and then that is what is then leads to those practical causes of disease, like the misuse of the senses. And so while we can pick any of these pathways to begin a healing or a wellness process, you can start with food, you can start with the body treatments, etc. Um, Ultimately, if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty
Mm-hmm.
of healing and of well being, at some point you've got to address that psycho emotional, aka spiritual aspect. And that can be done through all of those different modalities. Eating is a sacred act. We're
Mm-hmm.
nourishing ourselves. We're becoming one with the food that we eat, which hopefully includes a lot of plants. Um, the body therapies, like I mentioned, all of the work with the energy. When taking herbs, even, it still can be approached, from our relationship with plants and from this plant spirit, approach. Um, and then, as I mentioned, with things like yoga therapy, which includes not just the asana, but meditation, working with
Mm-hmm.
mantras, the breath work. And it doesn't have to be necessarily even within the yogic system. If you're Christian, your prayer work, your devotional work, all of those are still tools for tapping into the real root, the spiritual aspect of well being and remembering our true nature as spirit. And then from there, we start to live in a way that's more in harmony with nature. Um, so yeah, and then that's where healing is. And it's another thing I always like to stress and
Mm-hmm.
impress upon people is that it's all a practice. It's not about being perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a work in progress. We're all dealing with, the pressures of modern living that can get in the way. But what Ayurveda does is give us a framework and a
Mm-hmm.
pathway and tools to use and insights as well. Because modern life kind of has us oftentimes forgetting, these fundamental truths. And this universal knowledge, that
Mm-hmm.
has been in existence since the beginning of time. And so a system like Ayurveda is a path. That's another way to look at it. It's a path, it's a framework. And so what I love about it is that it's all encompassing.
Mm-hmm.
All these different modalities that we've talked about. Um, and so it's very rich. And again, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. One can start very simply and very small, and
Mm-hmm.
then go from there.
Beautiful. So those that are listening, I would appreciate if you could give this video a thumbs up and please also share. I'm sure that you have people in your network, in your family or friends that would love to hear some information on how they can begin to take control of their health. And again, it doesn't have to be do everything at once, but begin to start making those small incremental changes. So if people want to learn more about Ayurveda, where are a couple places that they should go to do
Mhm.
so?
Well, I definitely recommend visiting my website because I have a number of resources on there. I have some articles, which I'm working on putting out more articles, but I have some articles. I have a YouTube channel. They can follow me on Instagram. I have a number of content there to get started. My handle on Facebook and Instagram is Tesia Love Wellness. My website is tesialove.com. And so that's one place.
Mm-hmm.
And then other places, there's a Banyan Botanicals. It's an Ayurvedic products company, but they also have a lot of really good introductory articles on their website. So that's a good resource. There's a number of books out there, so you could start with a book. There's a number of podcasts that are out there that are on Ayurveda, so people can start with that. But I have a good Ayurveda 101 one-on-one article on my website, and then I also have a 1 hour recording of a webinar that I did that gives a good overview of Ayurveda. And so I would, it's free, so you can just go to the events page on my site and access that, and that's another resource.
Awesome. So I just put your website in the chat box. So those that are listening, you can go over and get some more information to start your journey. Very exciting. So I would like to thank everyone that has that tuned in. I really appreciate your patience tonight. And I would, of course, like to thank my special guest teacher. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was awesome. And I thank you so much for doing the healing work that you do. It's so important, especially during any time, but especially the times we're in right now. It's so crucial that people know the work that you do and then begin to know that it is accessible to them. So with that being said, are there any last kind of parting words that you would like to leave with the audience tonight?
Oh, that's a good question. Just to to definitely explore, take a look at what Ayurveda has to offer. Like I said, it's a framework. And another thing that I'd like to share that for me, because I love Ayurveda. It's the fundamental, the foundation of pretty much all of my work. But again, I'm not Indian, right? I'm African American. So I'm also interested in other systems. I'm always interested in exploring, what are African American traditions, what are African traditions. And the thing for me, whenever I'm exploring any other system out there, because like I said, Ayurveda has been so long standing and well codified and documented that for me, even when I study other systems, it gives me a framework from which to understand and make sense and piece together various other holistic health modalities. And so I would invite people who are already interested in natural health or many different approaches to natural health. I would invite you to look at Ayurveda perhaps from that lens as well.
Awesome. Yes, I like how you said that. And so hopefully with this information, everyone can kind of spread their wings and begin to learn more, because this is all a journey. It's beginning to learn and find out what works for you. What's your body telling you that it needs? So reconnecting to hearing and listening to your body is so crucial when you're on this journey of wellness and just beginning to take care of yourself. So with that being said, I'd like to thank you all so much for your time tonight. Please be sure to join me next Tuesday right here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Come to this